Good morning, folks. It's before 10 a.m. on Easter Monday. Blimey. The heater is on because there is a slight nip in the air. The instruction, the book of destruction is out. And I've already, last night, what I did is got the crank back in. It basically needs to be pulled through into the bearing to keep the alignment. Lovely. That's your balance shaft, and when the other half goes on, you need to time that. There's timing marks on it, so that times up with another gear. This is all your gearbox and your kickstart assembly. The kickstart assembly, I couldn't remember how it went. But it's together now, so, and it functions. What you have to do, you sort of have to preload it. I'd actually got it assembled wrong because I didn't take any photos of how it was assembled, but it's all done now and it does actually work. That's your gear drum. That's what selects the gears. It acts upon pegs on these little arms, and those arms move a gear up and hand gestures up and down, and that's how you get your gears basically. Right, so it's time for some of this stuff. Blue Hylamar. There is not a gasket between the cases, so you use something like Hylamar. I like Hylamar because it was made, I've said this before, it was made for Rolls-Royce, basically for use in jet engines where they need a sealer that doesn't set rock hard. It stays like Chinese chicken. Rubbery. Jim, that was terrible. So there's no gasket there, but I love Hylamar. I've never had any problems with Hylamar. It sort of stays nice and rubbery, and if any does get into the oil system, it stays soft enough to just pass through the pumps and get caught by the filters. The problem with hard sealers is if they set rock hard and you've got a little leak or you've missed a tiny bit, you're going to have a leak. So it's back together again. We've got the Thai Suzuki gasket kit, which includes base gasket, chain tensioner gasket, the two big outer gaskets for the covers, head gasket and an exhaust gasket, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So I'm just going to put some Hylamar on and then crack on. Yes. You spot the deliberate error, boys and girls? Yes, that's right. This is the tang that holds the kickstart. It ensures that the kickstart tang there returns to where it should, basically. And there's a little tab there, and I'd got that facing the wrong way. So I've just rectified that, and now what I'm going to do, Hylamar the cases, put some assembly lube around all these, splash a bit of oil on the gears and put the case on. But first I've got to clean the gasket surface of the other side. The idea is I'm going to put the cases together and then clean everything externally. I'm going to bolt everything up and then clean everything while it's all sealed up. Nice, it just makes it easier. Right, I'll carry on then, shall I? Yes, lovely. Helps if you have the bit on the end. The really good thing about Hylamar is that you have plenty of time. Yeah, when you're not dropping bolts on the floor, to get the cases together before it sets. And most of the bolts are sort of the same size. These casing bolts are only something like 10 Newton meters, something like that. So we've got plenty of time before it sets to go and get the torque wrench, and then tighten it up, and then we'll leave the high Lamar to set for a while. You leave it sort of 5 minutes before you put the cases together, because it's got a solvent in it, and you have to wait for that solvent to flash off. So it's all I'm doing now is with these casing bolts, I'm just putting them in, and if they stand just slightly proud, I know that they're the right length. And that one's way too long, you can just put it up against the casting. You can see this is an internal bolt that goes in from the other side. Internal bolts usually have nice clean heads, whereas the external ones will usually have a spot of rust on. That's a good way of telling. So yes, so I'm going to do these, and then I'll go and get my little torque wrench. Oh yes, I will. It's going alarmingly well, and I'm very, very worried.
Cool. Cup of tea?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you.
On my torque wrench, Jim. Anyway, when this dries off, we'll get that off. We'll scrape it off. The idea is, as I've just said, I want to get all the casings together and then give all this a good scrubby dubby. Maybe even a coat of paint. They weren't painted from the factory, but you know, just scrub it up, get the shit off it. Then problem, the gear wheel front sprocket goes there. And the only problem with that is a lot of this shit actually protects the metal. So it's, you know, is it better the devil you know? Who knows? I mean, the rest of the bike's not immaculate, so why should the engine be? Although I'm now tempted to take the front forks out and repaint them, etc, etc. Oh, it's a spiral. Together, balance the gear in. I've just got to tighten it, and to tighten it I need to lock the crank. You either lock the crank, or there is a tool that Suzuki make to lock this gear. I've tried locking it with clutch pliers and jamming something in there, and I'm not quite happy with that. So what I'm going to do is jam the crank using the approved method, and then do it, because that's got to be 40 Newton meters, which is more than what you think. I've also put the gear pawl in, the selector and all that lot. That's all in and tightened up. It doesn't give a torque value, it just says tighten. Yes. And I'm going to have to take the sprocket seal out, because its enforcing thing came out. Actually, I'm going to leave it until it leaks, and then I can pry it out with a pick and put a new one in for £11. Yes, let's see if the bastard will run first. So yes, stand by. You won't see much, but here we go. Beautiful. Happy now. And remember folks, when you use a torque wrench, always back it off after you've used it, otherwise you'll screw it. Yeah.
That's at 12.
You get the idea. I'm putting the oil pump on. Now I've lost my bloody 12mm socket. It's around somewhere. Everything I need is in this cornucopia of chaos. But so far, it's going well. The crank turns, the gear shafts turn. You know, we're happy. That is our just little boo-boo of the moment. But it might seal fine. It might just seal fine. If not, it's 11 quid for a new seal, and I can change that when it's on the bike. So we shall carry on then, troops. It gets interesting. The gear change selector mechanism. Get lots of potential to screw this up, but now we're putting on the gear shift arm, and then on top of that goes this, which sort of locks it in gear. That's cool. Right, now I need to look at another bit. Now, on all the plates, the steels, no sign of bluing at all on the steels, and all the friction plates are brilliant. It has only got 20 something thousand miles on it, and it's had very regular oil changes with me. So who knows how long the clutches last. Certainly doesn't need to be replaced, so that's good. So now I'm going to stick the clutch on there. There's a little spacer which you put a bit of engine oil under it, and then that sits on there, and then we can start building the clutch up. Nice. I'm going to do this the other way around. I'm going to put everything on that. Or shall I? Line them up. Yeah, I am. I'm going to do it the other way around. Even though all those look pretty well lined up. One more go. One more go. Not sure if I'm happy with that, to be honest. No, I think it can go more. But I can't now grip it to get a wiggle on. No, I'm doing it the other way. Stand by. That was a lot easier. a lot easier. But that's all down now, so we can now put the plate of platage across, and then afterwards the bearing of bearings goes in, and then springs. I've measured them, they are within service length, which is cool for school. So I'm going to crack on with building that. Well, I don't know about you, but I felt that click. That's 50 Newton meters.
6.5 hours later.
Come out, wherever you are.
I got disturbed for a couple of hours. I got dragged out of the house. Everything gearbox side is all in, although the casing took a bit of effort to. Don't need the heating on anymore. That took a bit of effort to seat down, but it's seated down. I just cinched it down with all the bolts methodically, and it's gone in all right. And the crank spins, the kickstart works, and all that lot. So I'm presuming everything's going to work. I've just had a bastard of time getting the piston circlips in, the wrist pin circlips. It's a job I hate because they're tiny. You know, at least car size ones are a decent size, but the motorbike ones, especially these, are tiny, and I've forgotten the amount of times it fucked off out across the room. Fortunately, I always saw where it went. So the next job is I've got to get the old gasket off the barrel, and then the barrel can go on nice. Piston and barrel are on, and the crank's rotating all nice and freely. I've just whacked the starter motor in. That was a bastard of a job getting that nut off. It sort of welded itself to the copper terminal, so I ended up getting a Dremel and cutting through the nut. So I'm hoping I can put a 10mm nut on the end of that. Either that or I've got kickstart. It's not the end of the world. So I've had enough today, so I'm going to leave it here for today. Whether I will make this a video on its own or tag it onto another one, you'll find out if it carries on after this. I'll carry on. If not, I need food.
One eternity later.
Right, folks, after a break, back at it, and we're about ready to put the stator wheel on. And it's on a keyway, so it's all timed up. And then what we can do after we've done that is, before I put the stator wheel on, I need to feed the cam chain around the sprocket there, up through the port, out through the head, and then I'm going to cable tie it to something, so when I move the engine about, the cam chain doesn't drop back through, because as soon as that cover's on, if that chain drops back through or it becomes unstiff, then we are in a world of trouble. Alternatively, what I can do is I need to just clean up the gasket face of the head, and I could put the head on and put the chain round the top sprocket first. That way the chain's not going to go anywhere, and we know we're at A-top dead centre, but we don't know whether it's exhaust stroke or compression yet, and I'm only going to tell that by the valves, really. And also what I want to do when the intake is installed is I'm going to grind off these anti-tamper bolts like I did with the other head, and I'm going to put my intake in, because I'm on 8mm bolts. It's just dead easy. It removes this chunkage when you're doing the cylinder head or anything like that. It just gives you loads more room. Oh, that's in case I didn't show you, that's the chunkage that came out of the piston. Yes, so that was the whole reason for stripping this, and I'm glad we did. Nice. Right then, yeah, I don't know which way around I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to clean up that gasket face with the Dremel and a wire brush, and then crack on doing that. Yes, yes, they used to call me Indecisive Jim. Let's get rid of the paintbrush hair. Anyway, I'm in the process of just setting the timing up now, and very conveniently there's a mark on the crankcase, there's a mark on the flywheel naturally, and I've also marked where the cam holder and the cam should be. You can get it 180 out, and I don't know yet until I put the cam wheel on whether it's on the exhaust stroke or the Ujima Whoppy Flippy stroke. Intake, Jim, that's the word you're looking for. And usually for every every 2 rotations of the crank is 1 rotation of the cam, usually, because obviously you have an intake rotation and an exhaust rotation. You need to set the valve lash on the compression stroke, basically. So yes, I'm busy doing that. I've just been outside for an hour scraping gaskets. It's been wonderful. I've just now timed it up with the mark. She's absolutely bang on. That's level. Tensioner's on, chain's in. Chain is tensioned. It's not under a massive amount of tension, just enough to take the old wobbly slabbery wibbly wobbly off. So now what I'm going to do, I bolted the sprocket on to make sure I've got it in the right position. I now need to put that little fella, I need to undo those 2 bolts basically, put that little fella on, which is like a little plastic shim washer, and this is the decompression lever and what have you, and put that on. And it's a little bit fiddly. Well, I've always found it fiddly, but you know, it is what it is. But we're getting there. The engine rotates, nothing has gone crunch, bang, smack or wallop. That's a good sign. I've got to put the seal cover back on that holds the seal in. That's the output shaft where your gearbox sprocket goes. Don't think it's in gear. Pretty sure it's not in gear. Which means I've put the gearbox together properly, or it will never work again. It's one of the two. Something's not making sense. I went to put the decompression cam in and it won't go in, and I don't know whether you'll see anything, but if you look down that hole, I don't know whether you'll see, but it's solid, and it's not supposed to be solid. It's supposed to have a cutout for that shaft, but it's rock solid, so it's flummoxed me for a minute. It looks like I've got to strip this top end out. I've got the old top end, and I've got all the cam and everything, and I'm just gonna put it in and just to see if I can recreate that situation and probably understand it a bit better, because I'm flummoxed at the minute. In theory there should be absolutely nothing in there that can move, in theory.
Such a stupid puzzle! Damn it!
Confession number 876. Sure enough, I've just looked at the end of the cam, took the spacer out, and it is indeed solid space. Jim, what did you forget? This is the problem with sort of leaving projects for a while. It doesn't go in there, it goes in there. What an utter fuck face. Oh, now the fucking cam's come off, you cunt. Come on. Fucking wank. Fucking spring over. good. Fuck off then. Don't let me go, put it in the wrong hole. Come on, round you go. Come on. By Jove, I think he's got it. I can't remember that decompression cap sitting there last time. But then again, I don't understand how it works anyway. Yeah, forget what I said just then. I was having an attack of the fuckwittisms. This guard actually stops it from twatting about. I've just got to tighten those two up and then try and get that bolt out, and then we can put the cover on, and that is the engine in theory. Timed up, ready to go. I've got to torque the head bolts, got to torque these. I'm gonna get the grindy wheel and take the intake off because mine's better. Basically, that's all torqued up. I think that was 40 Newton meters or 2 ugga duggers. So everything else is in on. Yes, this is the thing. My impatience has caught up with me again. I am very impatient when it comes to doing stuff like this, and it will catch me out. Like then, I had a complete brain fart, and nobody noticed. Hey, alright. Bad Nick. Good. I can now use my intake. Yes. We're nearly ready to go back in, boys and girls. Valve clearances are done, which I'm probably going to repeat. What I've got to do now is I've got a stud extractor, and I've got to take the exhaust studs off of the old head, put them in the new head, and everything else is just a case of sucking and see. I'm going to put a new filter in. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this, but the old filter definitely has a fair bit. There you go, the old forbidden glitter. So the filter, did its job at the end of the day. Nice, right. There are a couple of bits I want to do on the bike, which I will explain in the shed. Phyllis, well, it's nearly time to actually put the engine back in, believe it or not. I've just got to put some exhaust studs in, and then it can pretty much come out here. The valve clearances have been done, etc. But what I want to do is get to all this wiring, weatherproof it, and I'm going to take this bin off because this is where your battery sits, and then I want to disconnect the battery cables, get them out, expose all the wiring, weatherproof it, put some WD down it and all that lot, and then it might be ready for the installation of the engine, but I think I'm going to leave this one here. I'm going to tidy up the foot pegs. I'm probably going to give the exhaust another spray of paintage, and I need to put a terminal on the end there for the starter. So that'll be another video, I think, but that will do for this one. Yes,